Hello friends, in this video we will discuss about threat overposting and how to use bind attribute to prevent this threat. Mass assignment, also known as overposting, is an attack used on websites that involves some sort of model binding to a request. Model binding is a powerful feature of MVC. It automatically maps the user input to the model properties based on naming convention. This process saves me from writing a lot of code. However, it opens up the vulnerability which allows the attacker to populate model properties you did not even put on your input form. So basically, this threat is more often occur in MVC application because model binding is extensively used in MVC application. And in this threat, the malicious user tries to bind certain properties which are not present on the form but which affects the application in some way. So we will see how does this threat occur. Overposting typically occurs during model binding as a part of MVC. A simple example would be where you have a form on your website in which you are editing some data. You also have some properties on your model which are not editable as a part of the form, but instead are used to control the display of the form or may not be used at all. So malicious user would try to populate those properties using model binding and those properties will affect the application. So basically malicious user tries to affect our application through model binding by populating those properties. So I have created a simple example using product and review class, and we have a simple application where we are displaying a product. We will add reviews for the product. The review page would expose only two fields to user, that is name and comment. The review model class has other properties as well which are not shown on the UI, like approved. So when user adds the review for a product, that review goes for the review from the admin, and admin approves that comment or review, and then only it is displayed on the UI. So for holding that review of the admin, we have approved property in the class. But as the user, the one who is giving the review, cannot approve his review, so this property is not shown on the UI and it is hidden from the UI. So we are not expecting that a user could approve his or her own comment. However, the malicious user can easily interfere with the form post using number of web developer tools like Fiddler, adding approved equal to true to the query string or form post data, thus approving his or her own comment. The model binder has no idea what fields you have included on your form and will happily set the approved property to true. What's even worse, because our review class has product property, a hacker could try to post values in fields with names like product.cost, potentially altering values in table you never expect end user could edit. So let's see how this threat occurs through application. I have a threat over posting application, and let's see what things it has. So it has a product controller which is responsible for rendering product or rendering the review page. I have a model folder where I have a product class. So product has ID, name, cost, category properties, and product is linked to reviews class through one-to-many relationship. And then I have a review class as well, which has ID, product ID, name, comment, and approved properties. And it is linked to product through many to one relationship. Okay, so a review has a single product which is linked to a product. Okay, and on the UI I'm just binding name and comment properties. I'm not binding approved and product ID. And this is a security DB context which is responsible for connecting to the database. Now from the UI, my application looks like this. So I have a single product. I have a button to add review to this product. So when I click on this button, it takes me to the add review page, which is specific for this product ID 1. So from here, I'll be able to add reviews for product ID 1. Okay. Now let's try to add a review. Before that, let's go to the database. So in the database, I have single product and I have no reviews for now. and I'll try to add a review. So my name is user1 and comment is this is good product. Okay, I'll add a review. Now I'm displaying the review just below this add review button, but I'm only displaying the review when it is approved. So my review which I've added just now, it is not approved, so it is not showing on the UI. So if I go to the database, you could see there is one review, but it is not approved yet. So the process is basically the admin will approve this review. So let me be admin from backend and approve this review. Now if I go to the UI, click on the back link, I could see this review here. So basically when I'm adding the review as user to a product, I'm not able to set it to approve basically. So approved is always 0. So this is the normal process and admin should approve it. But what malicious user could do is he could basically manipulate the form post data and he would be able to approve his comment. So how he could do that? So he can use Fiddler and he would basically hit or post to this add review function with this data. So in this data or in this request body, he is passing name as a user 2, product as 1. So he'll be adding review to product ID 1. The comment is this is bad product and he's also appending approved true. So what model binder does is he would read this approved, he'll try to bind the approved property on a review object. And what it does is it basically approves the comment of this malicious user. So let's execute it. Okay, so it has hit this function. Now if I check this object, you could see the model binder has binded this property, and if I continue from the debugger and if I check in the database, I'll see another review from user 2 which is already approved as soon as he basically posted to that function, and on the UI I'll be able to see that product or see that review. So this is how the malicious user can manipulate the form post data and could bind properties which he is not supposed to. And what malicious user additionally can do is it can basically try to populate this product properties and it can try to basically change the cost, so which is harmful for the application. Plus, as a part of comment, this comment review comment, he can basically inject some JavaScript code, which could lead to JavaScript injection as well. So that is a different thing altogether, which we are not going to cover, but we'll try to cover how we can prevent uh, malicious user from posting the properties which he is not supposed to. So how we can do that? So let's see. So how to prevent? There are a lot of ways to prevent this threat. The most simple and effective way is to use bind attribute. So bind attribute is part of system.web.mvc namespace, and what it does is it basically directs the model binder. It basically tells the model binder these are the properties you have to bind. Apart from these properties, you should not bind any other property. The simplest way to prevent this is to use bind property to explicit control which properties you want the model binder to bind to. The bind attribute can be placed on either the model class or in the controller action parameter. The bind attribute allows to either specify properties to include or properties to exclude. So you can see in the example we have add review action method, and in the action parameter we have specified bind attribute. We have set include property to name, comment and product ID. So model binder will bind only these three properties. So let's go to our solution and try to implement the same. So in this action method I'll specify bind, then I'll specify properties to include, and the properties I want to include are name, comment and product ID. That's all, and I'll run the application again and we will execute the same request from Fiddler and we'll see if the approved is binded by the model binder or not. So let's wait for application to run. Okay, and this is the same request with approved equal to true in the form post data or request body. Now I execute the request. Now you could see in the review object approved is false. So model binder has not considered approved in the request. So this is how you can prevent malicious user from accessing properties he's not supposed to. So if I check the review database, you could see approved is 0 or it is not approved at all. So there's another way. So if you have a lot of properties in your model and you know which properties to exclude, and the properties to exclude are less than properties to include. So basically you could specify what to exclude instead of specifying a lot of properties to include. So we know we don't want to bind approved and product property. That's all. So we'll be seeing the same behavior now. So let's wait for the application to run. Okay, and I'll be executing the same request again. And if I check the approved property, it is false. So this is the another way of specifying properties to exclude from model binding. And there's one more way to do this. Now, if this review class is accepted as a parameter in multiple action methods, so every time in every action method you have to modify. So if there are four action methods where you are receiving the object of type review, then in four action methods you have to specify this bind attribute. And in future, if there is a addition of one more property, then you have to make change in all those four instances. So instead of doing this, you could go to this review class, which is the model. You could basically decorate this class with bind attribute, and just set the include property to name, comment, product ID. So by this way, wherever you use this class as a parameter, uh, this bind property will applicable in all the instances. So basically you are making changes in the common place. So this is also effective way of specifying bind attribute. So this is how uh, you can prevent overposting threat by using bind attribute. I hope you like this video. Thank you, friends.